We've entered an era where being addicted to shopping is seen as endearing. You can boast about blacking out and going on a shopping spree.
So, I blacked out. Kind of bad.
You can joke about how your shelves are literally bending because they're overflowing with products.
Hi, I'm Lainey, also known as the Overconsumption Girl, and today we're going to be showing you every single product that I have. So let's do a little tour. So this is my body care closet. I have the Bath & Body Works body creams up there. We have all of my shower gels from Bath & Body.
The shelves are bending.
Shut up.
You can post about how your closet beams fell off because they're overloaded with clothes.
There's no way. My closet just collapsed. Oh my god, my hat's getting ruined. Look at the hole.
You can have a whole photo shoot with your beaded bag collection.
I don't give a I'm still in the house. I'm still in the house. I don't give a Do I look like I give a because I don't.
And it's seen as cute and aspirational even. I was scrolling through Instagram last night where I came across a video from BBC that was interviewing a woman about her shopping addiction. This was the video.
It was the first thing I would think about when I woke up. There would be times where I could hit 14 hours a day screen time quite easily. You keep looking and looking and looking in the same way someone might keep drinking and drinking and drinking because they haven't quite reached the point of escapism that they were hoping to reach. This is the main room in my flat where I keep everything. I would say there's probably over 500 items in here. The biggest collection I've got is jackets. I think there's about 80. Probably got at least 100 pairs of footwear. It's like a physical and an emotional drowning because you don't know how to stop it. That recognition of it being an addiction and it being applicable to me was a bit of a penny drop moment. I do think shopping addiction needs to be taken more seriously. Just the sort of surface level, what everybody else is seeing. You're just buying clothes and you're not causing yourself any harm. Yeah, it was just not noticed in the same way that I think someone would notice someone drinking too much or using drugs.
And you know what the top comment was to this video? God forbid a girl has hobbies. The cavalier way that we've normalized overconsumption, treating it like a joke or even a badge of honor, it is deeply problematic. It's like spending your weekend splurging at Sephora or upgrading your phone every year or buying yourself stuff to cure your depression is just another relatable millennial or Gen Z experience. Now, let me be clear, having a shopping addiction does not make you a bad person. I think it should be handled with the same level of care and empathy as any other addiction. And surely our collective shop till you drop mindset is not born out of our own individual weakness. It is very much baked into the culture that we live in. But that being said, shrugging off a compulsive need to consume as just cutesy and quirky is dangerous because it trivializes the very real consequences that come with chronic overconsumption. Let's talk about how we've normalized shopping addictions. In America, having a shopping addiction is our default factory setting. Not in that we are inherently born with a shopping addiction, but in that we are taught to have one. Think about it. As children, we're inundated with toys. Our parents and relatives are showering us forever with the latest gadgets every birthday and every Christmas. You had a PlayStation 2 that was perfectly functioning, but now the PlayStation 3 came out and you have to have the latest and greatest gadget. So now you're putting that on your Christmas list that year. Entire marketing departments devote themselves to capturing kids' attention and loyalty early, knowing that if you hook someone on wanting to overconsume things at age 5, they're going to be a customer for life. Now, to be clear, there's nothing inherently wrong with buying kids toys. Play is how we learn. It's how kids develop their perception of colors and words and language. Like, obviously, there is a pedagogical value to toys. And beyond that, there's an entertainment value that is very necessary for a child's developing mind. The problem, though, is that play has been overwhelmingly overtaken by profit. What used to be about curiosity and creativity is now a race for the newest, flashiest, and most unboxing-worthy item. And when you're a teenager, at least for those of us who grew up in a time where malls were still very ubiquitous, the mall was the social hub. Hanging out with your friends inevitably translates to you buying things for fun. Consuming becomes a part of who we are. And then it's no wonder that by adulthood, having retail therapy all the time feels like it's as natural as breathing. At this point, even if you're a newborn baby, you're coming out the womb with the shopping app in your hand. It's obviously orchestrated by corporations. They profit immensely from our shopping habits. We live in this treat yourself society where shopping is equated to your self-worth. We've talked about this many times before. Think of L'Oreal, because you're worth it.
Because you're worth it.
Definitely worth it.
Because you're worth it.
And surely you deserve to spend your hard-earned money in whatever way you see fit. But at what point do the things you own start to own you? Even beyond shopping for clothes and such, this culture of numbing yourself is so normalized. It's normal to blow insane amounts of money on alcohol. We go out and we pay for these overpriced drinks, and a lot of young people today get plastered every single weekend. And that's normalized. In fact, if you're like 25 and you want to stay at home crocheting and reading books, all of this is seen as loser behavior. Even if you are out and you don't want to drink, you're then treated as the weirdo who's like not drinking alcohol and people get mad at you. We numb ourselves with substances, and we also normalize numbing ourselves with shopping, with the dopamine rush that comes from shopping. But that dopamine rush never lasts. Like, sure, you feel the anticipation of your package coming and you track it every day, and then it comes, and then all that dopamine just leaves your body. We're taught to numb ourselves a bit too much. Unless we actively work hard to deprogram ourselves, we stay plugged into this propaganda that having more stuff equals having a better life, hardly realizing that you have an addiction at all. Influencers like Brooke the Shopaholic, who has 2.7 million followers, they build entire brands around compulsive shopping.
This drawer, and this drawer, along with this shelf and this drawer. These are all of the makeup bags that I own. This drawer, this drawer, this drawer, and this drawer, along with this drawer. And then this stack here are all of the wallets that I have to choose from. These are all of the purses I've decided to keep.
Brooke herself once posted a haul video surrounded by dozens upon dozens of store bags, and she's saying that she has a problem.
I have a problem. This is all the shopping that I've done within the last 2 to 3 weeks. I think this is gonna be my biggest haul. The bigger the haul, the more trashed my mental health is.
Her caption insisted that she doesn't promote shopping addictions, which is an incongruent disclaimer considering the fact that she calls herself Brooke the Shopaholic, and she's literally famous for being a shopaholic. And her whole career revolves around being yeah, you guessed it, a shopaholic. And this is just supposed to be hee hee ha ha, cutesy little relatable content. And it is relatable in a way, because who among us hasn't had that time where we splurged on a shopping spree to make ourselves feel better? I know I have. But there's a fine line between understanding an addiction and celebrating it. We really have to pause and ask, what's really going on here and who is this hurting? In her 2019 book On Fire, The Case for the Green New Deal, author and activist Naomi Klein, who, as you know, if you've been watching for a while, we enjoy on this channel. In her book, she wrote, quote, "The problem is not human nature, as we've often been told. We weren't born having to shop this much. And we have, in our recent past, been just as happy, in many cases happier, consuming significantly less. The problem is the inflated role that consumption has come to play in our particular era. Late capitalism teaches us to create ourselves through our consumer choices. Shopping is how we form our identities, find community, and express ourselves. Thus, telling people that they can't shop as much as they want because the planet's support systems are overburdened can be understood as a kind of attack, akin to telling them that they cannot truly be themselves. As the chapter of this book is aptly titled, Being Consumers is All We Know. But I know firsthand how not funny, how not cute the consequences of our overconsumption can be. Overspending is very, very easy. Paying back the credit card debt that you shopped with, though, after the fact is actually hard. America makes it very easy to spend money, but very hard to make money. I can get on my phone right now and order a pair of shoes that would be here in a couple of days. But I can't get on Indeed and find a job to pay off that debt in a couple of days, now can I? Even folks that do have a job, they are using Klarna, Afterpay, they're paying in full with interest. These predatory companies are taking advantage of the fact that we cannot live without over-consuming. TikTok makes it frictionless to buy the exact lipstick that you're watching in a TikTok video right now. It's literally embedded onto the video itself. You can get it lickety split. But again, paying off that bill for that lipstick that you just bought, That can be an uphill battle if you lose your job or your bills for your basic necessities get higher. You can easily be swept up in the current of debt. The very system that gives you 2-day shipping also gives you stagnant wages, union busting, rent, and bills for your basic necessities that eat up the majority of your paycheck. So much of American life not only leads to, but actively incentivizes debt, because debt keeps you on the hook. And I talked about this in my video about how America keeps you in debt. Check that out for more on that. Debt is this quieter form of policing. Like, forget having to put you in jail. Have you heard of a credit score? I see your jail and raise you a credit score, because they are both carceral systems in and of themselves. You don't need to always imprison people when you can keep them trapped in a cycle of debt, of repayment. Being an attractive woman is costly. Keeping up with the latest fashion trends is practically a requirement. And when you spend so much time obsessing about what you're looking like, what you're buying, what you're wearing, this preoccupation with your looks to a point where you imprison yourself. This is why I think that it's an act of self-love to just be still, to say that my belly jiggles, my belly has rolls, and that's okay. I still wear my platform sandals from 2004, and that's okay. Who gonna check me, boo? No one. And I know that there are systemic forces at play that pistol whip us into constantly policing ourselves. But we don't need to allow oppressive systems that were not built to protect our humanity, that were built in constant extraction and policing, to allow us to become the oppressors of our own bodies to a point of compulsion. Compulsive shopping, known clinically as compulsive buying disorder, is very real. Even though there's this stereotype of the bubbly shopaholic, oblivious to everything but shopping, this is often a response, a trauma response to stress, to anxiety, to mental health struggles. But mental health care is stigmatized and it's unaffordable. Because we live in such an ableist society, people are rightfully afraid to be labeled. They are afraid to seek diagnosis, to seek treatment. You're expected to keep your pain private, to hold yourself together, to perform functionality, even when you're breaking down. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world or in your personal life. You're just supposed to keep showing up for work and acting like everything is fine. Many of us don't even realize that we're unwell. We've been conditioned to normalize symptoms of a very sick society. We tell ourselves that everything is fine as long as we can afford the small distractions that can numb us from our everyday lives. We think that because we're surviving, that means that we're stable, that because we're numb, that we're at peace. And so we self-soothe with the easiest addictions that the system provides for us. Anything that keeps us distracted from the fact that we're hurting. And it's okay to embrace that, because that means that you're a human being. And I will never say that getting away from your problems temporarily is not good for you, but emphasis on temporarily. A lot of mental unwellness or lack of mental hygiene is treated as something that we should hide. I know in many Black communities, there's this added layer of stigma. If you go to therapy, then you're airing your business or you're betraying family privacy. We get this message that we always have to push through it and the only solution is preying on it, and that's all we can do. And we should never let outsiders know that we're struggling. And so we learn to internalize it. And then we self-medicate with whatever is easiest to access from the market, which is often a shopping haul, a new outfit, a new car. Oftentimes, instead of facing our pain head on, we buy our way around it, because consumption is the most socially acceptable way of coping. Well-adjusted, happy, fulfilled people are antithetical to capitalism, because if people were actually happy and physically healthy and emotionally healthy, they wouldn't have to numb themselves at all. People are also working longer hours with less stability, all while being told that if they work harder, then that's all it will take, and that this is an individual failing, that they're not working hard enough. Add to that the disintegration of community. I've talked about that a lot. The ways in which we've lost real connection. I mean, even right now, I'm talking to you through the camera. I wish that we could have a face-to-face conversation where we can go back and forth. But there's this circularity in the way that we communicate. All of this leaves us anxious. It leaves us burnt out. And that, my friends, is how you can become a shopaholic. Of course, there's many different ways and many different reasons. But these reasons certainly expedite the process. There are some people who are sounding the alarms about how their shopping addictions ruin their lives, and I appreciate it. But the dominant narrative online that gets the most likes, that gets the most reach, are the ones who approach their shopping addictions with this frivolity and pride.
I am a clothes hoarder. I have so many clothes, I cannot do my laundry for 3 months and still have plenty of clean clothes to wear. My drawers don't close. I have like 6 loads of laundry to do right now. Guess what? My closet is completely full. My drawers are completely full to the brim. I am a clothes hoarder, and I have to admit it. I have a problem, but I'm not gonna stop, and I will be buying more clothes. Thank you and good night.
People are like, why do you work so much? Like, okay, yeah, that's my vice, but what else do you want me to be doing? You want me to be doing drugs?
This is what my room looks like every single time I'm trying to pack. It's actually insane. And I felt like I didn't have enough clothes, so I bought more because I have issues. Everything that I bought is for the Hamptons, and I'm only going for like 24 hours, so this is a little dramatic. Let's start. I can justify each purchase. No. I needed everything. Validation. I needed every single thing you see here.
The oops, I blacked out again shopping personality type exists inside of a system that thrives on this very behavior. Because the reality is that our comfort and our convenience often comes at the expense of someone else's immiseration. But a shopping addict who's in the throes of their addiction is not going to stop and pause and think about that. We're not going to ask questions about who or what was exploited along the way. The onus for the fashion pollution crisis, first and foremost, obviously lies on corporations who are responsible for massive overproduction. These companies are flooding the market with billions of garments every single year and other products, because endless production means profits keep flowing. I'm never here to solely argue that individual restraint and consuming less is going to single-handedly solve the climate crisis. Capitalism is the root of the problem, not our personal shopping habits. The corporations are doing all the damage, but when your identity is built around consumption, when you proudly call yourself a shopaholic, you then become less equipped and less willing to fight against the exploitation that makes your habit possible. Your conveniences are worth more than collective liberation. How can you meaningfully fight against the machine that sustains your addiction, your hobby? If you're a proud shopaholic, are you going to join a protest against fashion pollution? Why would you demand better treatment for Amazon workers if 2-day delivery is essential to your lifestyle? Because if Amazon workers were treated more humanely, you wouldn't get that package in 2 days. If production were slowed down to ensure safe working conditions, there would be less to buy. If garment workers were paid fair wages, your $10 blouse is now going to cost $40. By the way, disclaimer, just because something is more expensive, it doesn't always mean that the person who made it was paid equitably. We learned that with Dior. There's been plenty of luxury brands that have been accused of using forced labor. But every improvement that's made to the production cycle in the name of human rights is going to make your life less comfortable. It's going to chip away at your convenience. So why would you organize for those things if that meant pulling away from your addiction? You wouldn't. Not until you recognize that your freedom is built on someone else's bondage. Corporations have no reasons to fear boycotts or subversion of any kind because they know that you're a good, loyal little disciple. Right now, we're living through times that demand collective action. But if you've been conditioned to believe that you can't live without your Starbucks fix or your weekly fast fashion fix or your Louis Vuitton bag or whatever, if your entire persona is the person who can't stop shopping, why would you ever participate in a boycott or in anything that requires sacrifice? And this is how the normalization of shopping addictions manufactures our consent for the exploitation for the horrors of capitalism. A global fashion industry produces over 100 billion garments every year, and roughly 92 million tons of that clothing waste ends up in landfills annually, which is equivalent to a garbage truck full of clothes that's dumped every second, according to the United Nations Environment Program. We already have enough clothing on the planet Earth to clothe the next 6 generations of human beings. Yet production keeps accelerating, and our compulsive consumption signals that there's more demand, and corporations like to use that illusion as a justification for more overproduction. When the Rana Plaza factory, which produced clothes for brands like Zara and Primark, among others, collapsed in Bangladesh in 2013, after visible structural cracks were ignored and workers were forced to return to their stations, despite several safety warnings, this ended up taking the lives of more than 1,100 garment workers, and it exposed the brutal reality of the fashion industry.
The sound was deafening. The 8 stories of Rana Plaza pancaked down into rubble. And then around them was total chaos, there was dust. And once things began to settle, they say that they just started hearing screaming and prayer and the sound of over 1,000 people crushed.
The people who were stitching our $10 shirts, they literally were dying to sustain our lifestyle. Of course, corporations and billionaires, again, are the main culprits. But our indifference plays a part in that machinery too. Shopaholics don't see overproduction as a problem because in the short term, it benefits them. So we tell ourselves that the harm is elsewhere, in some factory, in some polluted river, in some faraway country. We don't have to look at it, and so we don't. And that's how the fashion industry keeps winning, by keeping us comfortable and distracted and numb. Another excerpt from Naomi Klein's book On Fire reads, quote, "So much of our economy relies on the assumption that there is always an away into which we can throw our waste. There's the away our garbage goes when it's taken from the curb, the away our waste goes when it's flushed down the drain. There's the away where the minerals and metals that make up our goods are extracted, and the away that those raw materials are turned into finished products. But the lesson of the BP spill, in the words of ecological theorist Timothy Morton, is that ours is a world where there is no away. In the midst of this global web of chatter, we somehow manage to be less connected to the people with whom we are most intimately enmeshed. The young women in Bangladesh fire trap factories who make our clothes on our bodies, or the children in the Democratic Republic of the Congo whose lungs are filled with dust from mining cobalt for our phones that have become extensions of our arms. Ours is an economy of ghosts, of deliberate blindness. We tolerate whatever injustice that's happening in the background of our purchases. As long as our packages arrive on time and our closets are full, it doesn't matter. And that's why I say this rampant consumer culture, it produces this kind of apathy or denial. Listen, I get that a lot of the people who are bragging about their shopping addictions are very privileged influencers, and their literal job is to sell you on continuing to shop and shop some more. And shop a little bit more, why don't you? A lot of them are living off of someone else's money, be it their parents, husbands. They can afford to play around with shopping addictions as content because they're never going to really feel the consequences, at least not in the same way that we are. The millions of people who are watching them are not in the same position. These influencers have massive reach. And what happens is that ordinary people who are just trying to make ends meet, we start to internalize those same shopping habits. And I've said it before, young people who are easily influenced are not moral failures. You're not a bad person for falling into the trap. I did, 1000%. I was in my 20s at the peak of influencer culture in like 2015, 2016. Sephora hated to see me coming. We've all been conditioned. We've all been targeted. If this is you, then I want you to know you can always change your mind. I understand you. I was you. I have to say that learning is a part of liberation. Growth is uncomfortable, but being stagnant is a slower kind of death. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about how most influencers can't change because they're trapped in these contracts that they sign. They're owned by the corporations, by the brands that they do partnerships with. And all of this keeps them boxed in and having to be the most narrow version of themselves. But you do not have to live like that. You can unlearn, you can reimagine. And I'm not saying that it's always going to be easy. You know how it's easier to clutter a room than to clean it? Okay, I know. I know as a chronic, messy person, I know. It's always going to be easier to learn behavior as an empty sponge than to squeeze all of that dirty water out of you and unlearn that behavior. We all want to be comfortable. We all want to experience joy and love. But these feelings can come from elsewhere, from our human connections in our lives, from making ourselves uncomfortable, from creativity, from learning a new skill, from engaging with the world in a way that is substantive. All of these things can bring us that joy in a way that is far more interesting, that's far more lasting than the fleeting feeling of ordering a package and opening it and doing it again and repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. We have to admit that our collective shopping habits are, in fact, a problem. It's a problem for the person who feels anxious and unhappy without their weekly retail therapy. It's a problem for the delivery driver who's lugging through the heat, often with no air conditioning in their truck, to get these packages delivered. It's a problem for the garment worker. It's a problem for our planet. And most importantly, it's a problem for any meaningful change. We need to be doing things like relearning how to use the things that we already have, repairing, learning how to appreciate when you have enough, learning how to sit with our discomfort, learning how to stop numbing ourselves with new stuff. It is not inevitable to be a shopaholic, especially when you're a woman, because we talk about this all the time. Being a woman is often seen as being tantamount to being a shopaholic, and it's not inevitable. Being a shopaholic is never an identity that you should carry with you. You should embrace your full humanity, not the personality, not the identity that was created for you by the market. And that, my friends, is all I've got. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the ways in which shopping addictions are normalized on the internet, as well as in our culture as a whole? Are you a recovering shopping addict? Let me know your thoughts. And if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you really liked it and you want more content like this, definitely hit that subscribe button. If you want to see what I'm up to outside of YouTube, you can follow me on my social media accounts down here, as well as my Patreon, where you can contribute for $1.50 a month or $5 a month if you're feeling a little bit more generous, all of which helps to keep the lights on here on YouTube and helps me to create content like this. So I would appreciate anything that you can give. Besides all that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you all next time.